What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Zone 623, your one-stop shop for everything basketball. Today we have with me Ezra Robichaux. How you doing, Ezra?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
I'm a mass communication journalism major here at Nichols. I'm a DJ for the radio station, and can I say, have a love for sports.
Yeah. And I thought Ezra would be the perfect guy to stand in for Dylan today. Unfortunately, he could not make it, but I think Ezra's pretty qualified enough to be at least a stand-in. So, it's actually been a busy week in basketball considering, how far away the season is from starting. We actually had a pretty big story with Lonzo Ball and his father, LaVar Ball.
Would you change the name?
Hell no, I wouldn't change the name.
I'm just saying from a marketing standpoint.
From a marketing standpoint, regardless of what it is.
I'm just saying, that's my opinion. I'm just asking a question.
I'm just saying. Triple B is always going to be the name. On the fact that it also stands for the three Ball brothers. I'm not changing that at all.
What's your opinion on that, Joe?
I don't give a about his opinion.
I just want to hear.
But no, listen to me, son. When I come out with a name and then somebody tell me to change it, that's like me telling me to change your name. That's like people saying, hey, change Lonzo's name to Alfonso on the fact that he's been damaged goods for the last 2 years.
What do you have to think about this?
Well, my thoughts on it are that, I think that was a little uncalled for to call him damaged goods because the guy's a great player. It's just because, no one's really taking an interest in your product doesn't really mean you should go after your son like that because he's your own blood. You trained him to what he is and to go after him like that, I think that's sort of disrespectful.
Especially because a lot of the blame for the failure of the Big Baller brand, I think, could rest on his shoulders. You tried to pitch your son to these companies, and these companies were like, look, we think your son will be great, but we don't know yet. We're going to make him an athlete, a signature athlete, but we're not going to give him his own shoe yet. And so LaVar makes this company out of nothing. If you look back, Nike, wasn't really anything until Michael Jordan saved them back in the 80s. So it's what do you expect in 2 years? And then your product's not good. At least Nike was still making quality products whenever they were a subpar brand. Lonzo, since this, has gone on numerous talk shows and talked about how, I got to change my shoes every quarter and stuff like that. They were ripping. And these shoes might be a big cause for how much time Lonzo's missed in these past couple of years.
Well, yes, it's a small company, but also I think where they didn't work out is selling a shoe for $500.
Right.
That was a steep focal point price for a company that's just starting out because you don't want to go that high unless you're really popular. But if you're just starting out and sell a shoe for $500, you can't expect
$500 are special edition Nike brands.
Exactly.
Even Jordans, for as expensive Jordans are, you might spend $250. That's steep, but it's Jordans. You can't.
Jordan's a reputable brand, just like Nike is. They're both organized.
They have no reputation to say, let's $500. You can get my shoe.
Because Big Baller brand has only been active since what? Since Lonzo.
Since Lonzo just came in.
Yeah, since Lonzo got drafted.
Right whenever he got drafted. That's whenever the company.
So you can't really sell a shoe.
It's also it's not a good product. Like we just said, it became a thing whenever whenever he was about to come in the league. How can you build a quality shoe and from the time he's drafted, from the time that his first game is? I don't think you can. Not even his first game. Summer League. How can you build a good brand in that short amount of time? How can you do all the tests and everything like that? So, I don't know. I don't think it's a good brand. I think the only way to salvage the brand would be all right, let's try something else because obviously this wasn't working.
I think they need to take more time in making their shoes. Because you rushed the first shoe they released, they completely rushed it. You can't finish a shoe in a week. It takes a while to make the perfect shoe because you have a lot you have to go through. You can't just throw some things in here you go. Here's a shoe that's going to stay together.
Right. And people like to think a brand like Nike's, they like to come out with new variations of shoes. Now they have the shoes with the little beads in it now. And it's they coming out with new technology every year, but this technology has been tested for probably the past 3 years. Because they're not just releasing it just because let's try this
Well, what companies typically do is before they release a new product, while other products are still selling, they're behind the scenes testing that new product to make sure, hey, we have years of testing behind this, and we think we're ready to release it when the time comes. Like, we have years of testing, we know it's good, we could send it out to market for the consumer.
But this news actually comes from a video that shows Lonzo in some ways standing up to his dad. Like, yeah, I want to change the brand. And like, they're legit arguing, and it's a reality TV show. So I don't know how much of this is actually scripted Lonzo arguing with his dad, or how much of it is actually Lonzo like arguing with his dad. We don't know, and we shouldn't know to some extent. This is their personal life. But it is a reality TV show. But it's nice to see Lonzo step into his own a little bit. And I think he's going to step even more into himself whenever he's all the way in New Orleans, away from his dad. Like, I think this is the time whenever he's going to start becoming his own man. He has a daughter now, and he's going to be building his life in New Orleans for a little while, maybe for quite a while, depending on if they re-sign him and everything like that. He's still on his rookie contract. But it was good to see him kind of step into his own, and I think New Orleans is going to be a really good place for him.
I mean, New Orleans, they're a young team, but they have some veteran presence. I think J.J. Redick could be a good mentor for Lonzo. And Drew as well. Both Drew.
I think more Drew, because Drew is a lot of what Lonzo is. Drew's a good scorer.
But he can
but Drew's also a good passer. I think Lonzo's a better passer than Drew Holiday. But Drew's a defensive guard. So I think Lonzo should latch on to Drew and let Drew be his mentor. And then also, he's already got so many intangibles that you don't have to coach. Like, I think Lonzo and Zion are going to be a tremendous force.
It's gonna be a scary force. And then you're gonna have the 3-point shooting of both Holiday and Redick. Like, that's gonna be.
Yeah.
You have sharpshooter.
People sleep on
Redick.
Drew Holiday, that how much he's been able to stretch out his game, and he's a lot more consistent than what he used to be.
And then they added, like I said, they added Redick. Another. He may be older, but that dude can still shoot.
Yeah,
He's still got a shot at like 35.
You don't really lose value whenever you're a shooter and your age is going up, because you can still stand in a corner and knock down a shot.
Exactly. Even contested, Redick could still put him up and hit him with ease.
Yeah, but so moving on from that, let's talk about this Kevin Durant article. Now, I don't know if you've heard about it, but Kevin Durant did an article with the Wall Street Journal. And in this article, he said many things about how he hates the NBA sometimes, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He didn't know what was next after the championship. He never felt like a warrior, and that he was kind of scorned by the Thunder. Do you have any thoughts about any of those topics?
I mean, he wasn't really. I mean, I think the reason the Thunder scorned him is because the way he left. Like, they were like, "Here, I think
he deserved to be.
Yeah, he
get
did.
some flack for it.
Because they were like, "Here, we're gonna give you like the max deal. Like, we're giving you what you want." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna just leave." And it's like,
but you're upset because they don't like you anymore. Like,
but you walked out on a super max.
So the Thunder comes from a franchise, the Supersonics, right? And that's where Kevin Durant got his start. Now, the Supersonics were already upset that they were losing their team to the OKC Thunder, which is what they became. And so the Seattle fans, they're already hurting because we lost our team, but at least we still know where it's at, right? And then we have Kevin Durant, who just leaves on us. So
exactly,
they're a very disgruntled fan base, but I don't even want to give Kevin Durant that excuse. I don't think he should have an excuse. Like, LeBron left, right? But he didn't go to the Celtics after they beat him, and people burned his jersey. Like, what makes Kevin Durant think that you have the same amount of, power as LeBron James? LeBron went back to the Cavs and was welcomed after a couple of years. He hurt that team, but he was welcomed. Kevin Durant doesn't have that same pull, and Kevin Durant left very badly in my eyes. So for him to get all this hate and criticism from that organization, it's fair.
I mean, if he would have went from the Thunder, played with the Warriors, went back to the Thunder, I think it'd be a different story. But he went from the Thunder to the Warriors and then signed with the Nets.
But the reason they signed with the Nets and didn't go back is because he said that he felt betrayed by the Thunders. It's like, you don't think they felt betrayed?
Yeah, he's saying he's betrayed by the Thunder, but
to be
the
honest,
Thunder tried to help and re-sign you,
right.
But you didn't want to take it.
But to be honest with you, it's like I don't know if I want a player back if you leave just to go win a ring and then want to come back. It's like, why you didn't want to do that with us? We could have helped you build that. Unless you're in a situation with like LeBron and the toxic ownership in Cleveland, or Anthony Davis in New Orleans with Dell Demps not being able to build stuff around him. But it's like, dude,
Wait.
like you can't. I don't know what you expect. Like you left to go win a ring and then you came back.
The Thunder had the team to do it. Harden, Durant, Serge Ibaka. There was a time where the Thunder were legit title contenders, or they had the talent there, but just couldn't make it
Look
over the
how many
hump.
MVPs that Thunder team that went to the finals against the Miami Heat has produced. You know, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook,
James Harden.
Those three guys. What did you do after going to the finals? You cut James Harden off. Like he's a very good GM, because even though Melo didn't work out for them, to get Paul George and Melo over one summer, that was really great. And even now, whenever Russell Westbrook had an ungodly contract, and he was still able to get that, and he got Chris Paul, but it's going to be good for like rebuilding stuff. Like, yeah, you're paying Chris Paul a lot of money, and Chris Paul is older than Westbrook was and everything like that. But for what you're trying to do, I think he's still a good GM. But
I mean,
you
it's
really
just going
can't
to
control
take
what a player does.
It's really going to take the Thunder a few years to get back to where they were. Like at least 5 years. They might have to tank a season, but just try and get lottery picks.
You know what
to
I was
draft
thinking,
talent.
and this is kind of off topic, but back whenever Katrina hit New Orleans, the Hornets were moved
To Charlotte.
to not
No,
to Charlotte.
wait,
They were
no.
moved to Oklahoma. They were the Oklahoma New Orleans Hornets or something like that. So Chris Paul has a fan base over there, kind of. So it's not that bad of a deal for him. And that's way off topic, but it's something that I was thinking about. Like, he kind of already has a fan base there, and I think it's going to be good for rebuilding here pretty soon.
I think Chris Paul's I know Chris Paul's old, but I think he's a good point guard to build around. He still has something left in the
I think
tank.
he's a great point guard still.
He is. Like,
He's getting older, and with age, the only thing that I've really seen from him is the injuries are a little bit more frequent. But other than that, he really hasn't lost a step in these past couple of years from whenever he went from the Clippers to the Rockets. You know, just his injuries are a little bit more lingering now. But let's stay with Kevin Durant. Wondered what was next after a championship. What do you think about that quote?
What was next after a championship? Well, I mean, you stayed with Golden State for like 2 or 3 years. You won a ring, and you're like, what's next? Well, you know, it's kind of all up to him to decide what's next. Like,
Yeah.
he asked himself that question, but like, it's what he wants. It's what he wants to
It
do.
is what he wants. And
Does
it's
he
like,
want to stay in Golden State, or does he want to
get
test
drafted?
the market?
I mean, you play basketball your whole career. None of these people that are in the league haven't played basketball most of their life, except if you're a freak like Joel Embiid or people along those lines that were soccer players in Africa and stuff. But a lot of these people, they put their whole life into basketball. They get drafted and they like, we're going to this franchise and I'm gonna be a crucial part to the next championship. So you're building to the championship. There's not much left after a championship except more championships.
Exactly.
So I don't really understand how you're like, oh man, how are you almost in a way depressed about winning a championship?
How are you going to decide what's next after a championship? You've already reached the pinnacle of your sport. You've won. You've won an NBA final.
If you win one ring, you're immortalized.
Exactly. You've reached the
Especially
peak.
if you're a caliber like Kevin Durant. Like, yeah, you won't be a Michael Jordan or a Bill Russell or a Kareem,
But still.
Magic, and I'm gonna keep on going on. So the list is getting kind of long, but you still did something. I mean, look at how much Shaq messes with Chuck for not getting that ring.
Oh,
at least you're not in that boat.
They go back and forth quite a lot.
Yeah. So I don't understand how you could be in a way
Mad.
depressed. Like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Like,
I mean, maybe it was all
get
for
you
like
some
the
gold medals, get you some more championships. Maybe go to the Nets and actually make your own championship instead of joining somebody else's.
I mean, he has Kyrie in Brooklyn now, so that could be.
Do you think that team is a
I think that team
championship team once
might
it's
be
healthy?
might be a playoff team, but if they can get it together, I think they could. Well, all these duos make it hard to pick who's in the championship because you got like half the league with the dynamic duo now. It's no longer
I
super
think
teams.
it's the best thing because we don't know.
Exactly. Like,
And it makes people like me and all these other sports guys that are trying to do predictions, because Now it's like we don't know who's gonna win, but we can tell you why we think this team might be more successful than this one, and
Because
so on and
because
so on.
now it's the dynamic duo era. Because you got like 16 teams all with 2-star players.
The Warriors are still
The Warriors are
quite
still,
a threat.
They are.
They got 4 All-Stars
They got Clay
and Willie Charlie Stein, which is a great
and they
big
got
man.
and they got D'Lo who
Right,
who
who's
broke
part of
out
those.
who broke out last
Even
year
though
for
he
the
was
Nets.
a substitute All-Star, he's still an All-Star.
He is. He's still
And
good.
Very good. I think he's going to play a good role in there. I think the Warriors are going to be a good fit for him because they're going to teach him ball movement, which is one of the things. Ball movement and defense are like D'Angelo Russell's like weaker things. D'Lo's kind of like his ball movement's kind of like of those like Russell, where yeah he's getting his passes, but it's because like the defense is so focused on him that he can find an open person. So I think Golden State prides herself on ball movement and off-ball movement too. And I also think defense might be something he can work on with Draymond to get better at.
I mean, that whole Warriors team is gonna look like they plan on playing Clay at the small forward position. I don't know how I feel.
I like it. Clay's kind of big, and he's definitely a 3-and-D. He could definitely play the defense, but I think that's a good lineup. I think Steph at the 1, D'Lo at the 2, and Clay
at the 3.
Draymond stays at the 4, and Willie Charlie Stein at the 5.
That's still a decent lineup.
Arguably could be a top 3 in the West team.
I think a team that people are sleeping on might be the Clippers. I mean, they went out. I
don't think nobody's sleeping on the Clippers. I think
You know?
everybody knows what they're gonna be.
Because you got Kawhi, and then you go out and get Paul George. It's like you got Kawhi coming off of probably one of the best finals runs I've seen with the Raptors.
Injuries pending.
And okay, yeah, the injuries, but still, it was a good run.
Definitely. And that last second shot against
God, the one where it
Sixers.
bounced off that was a dagger.
No ball ever bounces off the front and goes this way.
It always goes the other way.
Right. It would bounce off the rim and go back to where the shot came from. But let's stick with the Warriors and Kevin Durant. He said he never felt like one of the guys in Golden State. A lot of these things that he said is like just mind-boggling. Like, why are you saying that? Of course you're not one of the guys in Golden State. You weren't drafted there. You joined us after we beat you and went 73-9. Of course you're not one of us.
I mean, like, he's saying this, but yeah, like you said, you got to realize 73-9 team. He's like, oh look, it's a super team. Let me just go make my way to Golden State. You know?
I don't know what Kevin Durant thought was going to happen whenever you join a 2-time MVP and a 73-9 team, a team that's already won a championship and almost won a second one if Cleveland didn't rally together in that last game.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were 3-1 if
the
Cleveland
Warriors
didn't rally
were
together
3-1.
for those last 3 games. So it's like, I don't know what he expected. Why would you expect to go into another person's team and expect to become the face of that team? Even whenever Kevin Durant was there, the face of that team was always Stephen Curry.
It's
Kevin
always gonna
Durant
be
was the
Curry.
added bonus, and Kevin Durant may have been the best player on the team, but that was Stephen Curry's team. And I don't know why he would think any different. If somebody else would have joined the Thunder whenever he was there, it would have still been Kevin Durant's team. And even you look at Russell Westbrook was on that team. That was still Kevin Durant's team. Everything's going through Russell, but that's still Kevin Durant's team. So I just don't know what he was thinking about whenever you join a team and a guy that was already so successful without you. What were you thinking was going to happen?
I mean, what would happen is like, you know, it kind of creates like this barrier because like Kevin Durant is a great player, don't get me wrong, but if you're just gonna like join a team that's already good, it's kind of like, have you really earned that ring, or are you just trying to like hop on a team where you could just, you know, like, yeah, he contributed a lot, but he's just hopping on a team that's already championship caliber and like, yeah.
Kevin Durant saw the Warriors win a title and go buy a jersey, basically. He became a bandwagon.
Basically, he's like, you know what?
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that's like, you know what? He hopped on a bandwagon, and you know what? It worked out. You hop on a 73-win team with the championship roster. I mean, of course, you're most likely going to win a ring.
Right. So let's start talking about Team USA.
Oh man, utter.
How do you feel about Team USA and
Utter
their progress?
Utter disappointment. That was probably one of the worst showings of Team USA basketball I've ever seen.
And I don't know if you remember, but back in 2004, Team USA won bronze for the first. Like they usually won since they've allowed pros in the FIBA basketball championship, and since they've done that, Team USA has always come up gold, or I think they came up silver. I forget the years, but I don't think it was whenever they allowed the pros to play. But since they've allowed pros to play, the biggest disappointment was that they finished with a bronze in 2004. They finished 7th this year.
Oh my! Seventh is it's abysmal. I mean,
Especially whenever the team that beats you out is France. And these are pro athletes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys play in the NBA. You look at and not just from France, but I'm trying to think. Marc Gasol, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic. The list can go on.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are still pros, but there's a certain amount of respect that comes with the title Team USA. And I really think why they lost is a multiple of things. For one, a lot of injuries.
oh,
A lot of these players stay away from this because of the injuries that have caused, and that's why another thing is the lack of superstars. No superstar, no bona fide all-star wants to go play Team USA, win a gold medal, but be hurt, or not win a medal and be hurt, which is even worse. This is what some of these guys experienced. Nobody wants to go, and a medal's great, but I'd rather win a championship.
it's just extra work that these superstars don't need. I mean, like, you got to think the USA sent out a completely young team. Like they sent out
a
basically
lot of these guys were 2 and 3 year players.
and some of them were like Trey Young was on that team. Like Trey Young's only got
Donovan Mitchell.
like most of these guys got like 1 to 3 years of experience, and then you have a guy like
Kyle Kuzma was on there.
exactly, and
And
he's got
a
like
2-year guy or
and-
3-year guy now. I'm sorry.
And I think the oldest player on our team was Kimba. Kimba probably had the most experience out of
And
that whole
Kemba was
roster.
probably the most
The
talented,
exactly.
arguably, because we think of Kemba as a lesser Kyrie Irving usually, and just the lack of superstars, the lack of mature. I don't want to say maturity. I want to hope, but the lack of experience.
Because you look at the other USA teams and, filled with superstars, and this team just sort of like makes the other teams look. Like this year was just not a year for USA basketball.
No, you know who it was a year for though?
Who?
Marc Gasol.
God.
That dude got traded at the trade deadline, won a championship, and then won a gold medal.
Marc Gasol's probably on top of the world right now. He's like,
Oh, right now.
what?
Imagine what he's telling his brother right now.
He's telling Pal like, hey, I just want a gold medal.
Yeah. But
Poor Pal.
poor pal. He had a good career. I think he retired though.
Pal?
I think this was his last year. If not next year, would be his last year. But I want to say a statement came out that he retired. Speaking of retirements, Sean Livingston retired this year also. This was the backup point guard for the Warriors. Won 3 rings with Steph Curry and those guys. Sean came back from one of the worst injuries I've ever seen in basketball. So it's nice that he was able to shake back and come.
He actually didn't do too bad when he came back. I mean, he was a decent role player. Like he's
I
not
think it was a great role player.
he's not a bad player at all.
And I don't think he would have been anywheres and been a starter anywheres, but he definitely fit what the Warriors
the
needed.
Warriors gave him a chance when Curry wasn't on the floor. Typically, Livingston filled that spot, and he did a good job at it. He did
Great facilitator, great defender, killer mid-range guy. Like he's the Steph Curry of mid-range,
his mid-range shot.
and super athletic.
Oh yeah,
But good to see those two guys, have their career. Speaking about people that retired recently, so Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant retired not that long ago, and they're actually eligible for the Hall of Fame coming up in 2020. I mean 2021.
I think they're gonna get voted in.
Yeah, they're eligible, but it also like Mike retired in 2004 and didn't get voted in until I think 2009. So it does take time, but Shaq didn't retire. Yao didn't retire in too long. AI didn't retire too long.
And they're all
in there. Steve Nash is in there now. Ray Allen. So I think the process is a little bit faster now, where these players are getting voted in.
If Kobe Bryant doesn't get voted in,
He's definitely gonna get voted in eventually. But
Tim
he's
Duncan,
now eligible.
But
Both of
Tim
those
Duncan
guys.
as well. I think Tim Duncan gets in before Kobe.
No, I don't think so.
You don't
I'm not
think?
gonna let you say that. This is my show, okay? Joking, but I think they're probably gonna be in at the same time, definitely. Because you look at the back and forth between Yao Ming and Shaq, and there's a lot of back and forth. Tim's quiet, but definitely those two guys deserve to be in there, and it's cool to see them eligible. Makes me feel like I'm getting old. Because it's like, I remember watching Kobe growing up, and it's like, God, like, people I watched growing up, Shaq and AI, I was like, geez, like, these are some of my favorite players. They're now retiring.
And now they're getting into the Hall of Fame.
But speaking of awards and getting inducted into stuff, James Harden. He is still angry about this MVP that he did not get.
I mean, he had his MVP last.
I don't think he deserved the MVP that he got. I think he deserved it for the year of Russell Westbrook. So Westbrook got it because triple-double for the year, right?
That's hard to do.
But James Harden's stats weren't that far. Like, I think James Harden might have had like 8 rebounds or 8 assists and something else like that. Like, his numbers weren't that far off. So triple-double, like, okay, you made that 10. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's easier whenever you play with the play style that these guys have now, where they go in and then they pass it off to somebody after they can't make their shot because somebody's going to be open. But that's the year he should have won it. There was many times when he wasn't voted into first team All-NBA where I think he should have been. And I think he's a great player, but I think his stats are a little bit inflated. And I don't know. I don't understand why he's upset because Giannis got it over him. He had a better narrative.
I think Giannis overall had, when you look at the Bucks, I think overall Giannis had a little bit of a better season than Harden.
But you see, I think Anthony Davis should have won MVP last year. Or LeBron. People that get their teams, I'm not saying Harden doesn't, but people that if you take them away, that team probably wouldn't do much. You take James Harden away from last year's team, whenever he's healthy, you still have Chris Paul. But I don't even know if that's a good point. But the point I'm trying to make is that, yeah, you run an offense that gets you 30 shots a night. You should make 50-point games. You should get 30-point games. You should average 40 points for a whole month. Like, this is you're the whole offense. So whenever you look at a guy, and you could argue kind of the same thing about Giannis, that, yeah, Giannis is the whole offense, and Giannis, if he passes out, is because everybody claps on him trying to stop him. But Giannis finished number 1 in the power rankings. Not just number 1 in his conference, number 1 overall. James Harden's finished 4th in the West, which is still impressive because of how tough the West is. But I think Giannis had the better narrative. And it's weird to think about James Harden's MVP win because it's like it was quiet. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't no surprise or anything like that he won it. You know what I mean? Like, whenever he won it, it was like, oh, okay, that's who won it this year. That's cool. Like, I don't think anybody besides like Houston fans were like uberly excited.
I mean, sometimes an MVP just isn't like. I mean, yeah, an MVP is a cool award to win, but like you said, some people just don't get excited. It's just like sort of quiet sometimes, unless you're an actual fan of the team, of the player that actually won it. Then I can understand like you being like excited now because like, yeah, our guy got that award. It's kind of like the fans are kind of happy for him.
Yeah, but to go along with the James Harden upset, Nick Young and Lou Williams had tweets so James Harden put out something about like, oh, narrative 1 or whatever, and Nick Young had tweeted and said that we just gloss over James Harden's stats and the fact that Russell Westbrook just did a triple-double for the 3rd year in a row. And Lou Williams responded to his tweet by saying, yeah, the players should definitely vote on MVP. And it's like, is there people in the league that think that Harden actually deserved it over Giannis? I mean, I don't understand. And I kind of just I see Nick Young. I think Nick Young just got signed to the Rockets, so I think he's just trying to, make friends. But this might be actually what he thinks. But it's kind of making Harden look at this point. The awards happened almost 3 months ago. It's kind of making Harden look like a spoiled little kid right now. Because it's like, yeah, he wanted it. He finally got it. And now, like, he thinks he deserves it every year. And I just don't think he does.
I mean, you can't really. I mean, if the same person keeps winning the same award, like it kind of gets boring after a while because
Exactly.
you kind of predict it to happen.
LeBron James arguably deserved to win it every year since his first one. He's a crucial piece to his team. He is the most valuable player on his team, but nobody wants to vote for the same guy over and over and over again. Michael Jordan played in the league for years, and I think he only won 5. Kareem, years, only won around like 5, I think. Like, nobody's going to have multiple unless you're that dude. And I think Kareem, Magic, and those guys that I said are that dude. I don't think James Harden is that dude. He's just having good seasons.
You kind of relate this to like it getting boring, kind of like to when like it was like a whole Warriors and Cavaliers in the finals for like 3 straight years. Everyone just sort of like you know what, this is boring at this point. It's like the 3rd year in a row it's happened. Is it really worth watching? Because it could go either way. But this is the 3rd year the same 2 teams meet in the finals.
Yeah.
So you kind of can relate it to that.
It was kind of a relief, and I really thought the Raptors were gonna get smoked, but
the Raptors proved it, and they were like, hey, we can roll with it.
Right, but I believe that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all of that. Catch us on Patreon. The episodes are either gonna release earlier on Thursdays or earlier on Fridays. Follow us on Twitter. My Twitter handle is going to be right here. We're going to go ahead and put Ezra's up there in his corner. And see you next week.